It was a warm July afternoon in 2025, and the golden light of suburban Surrey filtered through the tall beech hedges lining Maple Grove. Inside the tidy semi-detached home at number 27, Isabel, 20 years old, with tousled auburn hair and a penchant for cropped cardigans, was scrolling through Instagram, bored. Her university break had just begun, and the promise of freedom buzzed in her chest. Earlier that day, she'd overheard her father mention the Triumph Bonneville was finally tuned and ready after months in storage. It sat gleaming in the garage, a vintage treasure he rarely let anyone touch. He'd never even know, she whispered to herself, already slipping on her wide-leg jeans and chunky trainers, 2025's go-to blend of comfort and style. Without asking, she wheeled the bike into the driveway, revved the engine softly, and took off down the quiet street. She didn't ride far, just a loop, but on return, she misjudged the turn into the back garden. The Triumph lurched sideways, its rear wheel slamming into the newly installed timber fence. A sickening crack echoed through the yard as two full panels splintered and the concrete post tilted outward, threatening to topple into Mrs. Peabody's prize-winning rosebed next door. Isabel froze. Her stomach dropped. The fence wasn't just decorative, it was a legal boundary. Under the new UK garden fence laws introduced in mid-2025, households could face fines up to £5,000 for unrepaired boundary damage that affects neighbours. Worse, her parents had only just settled a long-standing dispute with Mrs. Peabody over this exact line last spring. Panicking, Isabel shoved a garden bench in front of the wreckage and ran inside, heart-pounding. Dinner that evening was tense. Isabel picked at her shepherd's pie, avoiding her parents' eyes. Her father, usually quiet but observant, had noticed the muddy tire marks on the patio and the unnatural lean of the fence post. After dessert, a classic trifle in their warm-toned, layered dining room adorned with textured walls and terracotta accents typical of 2025 British interiors, he walked outside with his phone minutes later. He returned, face unreadable. "Isabel," he said calmly, "come to the living room." The family gathered beneath the soft glow of a sculptural pendant light, one of 2025's standout interior features. On the smart TV, he pulled up footage from their Ring doorbell. There it was, Isabel, helmetless, swerving the Triumph into disaster. Her mother gasped softly. I didn't mean to," Isabel stammered. "I thought it was just wood, it's not a big deal." Her father's voice was low but firm. "Not a big deal? That fence complies with the 2025 boundary regulations, 2 meters high, reinforced posts. If it collapses into Mrs. Peabody's garden, we could be liable for thousands. And you lied." Her mother added gently but firmly, "You're an adult now, Isabel. Living under this roof means respecting its rules and the law." Isabel tried to argue, but the truth weighed heavy. When her father stood and walked to the study, returning with the smooth, dark wooden cane they'd used only twice in her childhood, her breath caught. "You'll be disciplined tonight," he said. "Not because we're angry, but because actions like this demand correction." Later, after changing into soft loungewear, a cream knit cardigan layered over a ribbed cami and those same wide-leg jeans that defined 2025's relaxed yet polished look, Isabel stood nervously in the living room. The cane lay on the coffee table, beside a steaming mug of builder's tea. Her father explained, 6 strokes. Over your clothes. For damaging family property, lying, and risking our standing with our neighbor. She bent over the arm of the sofa, upholstered in warm taupe linen, part of the soft minimalism trend dominating British homes. The first stroke stung sharply, but not cruelly. Each one followed with measured precision. Her mother stood nearby, hand on her shoulder, offering silent support. By the 6th stroke, tears streamed down Isabel's cheeks, not from physical pain, but from shame. The room was quiet except for her quiet sobs and the distant hum of the smart thermostat adjusting to evening hours. The next morning, Isabel rose early. The sting had faded, but the weight hadn't. She brewed tea, typed a sincere message to her neighbor, and printed the UK fence compliance guidelines. She transferred £300 from her cafe job savings into a dedicated account labeled fence repair. Then, she knocked on her father's study door. "I want to fix it," she said. "All of it. And I'll apologize to Mrs. Peabody in person." Over the weekend, she helped her father dig out the damaged post, haul new timber, and mix concrete. They worked in silence at first, then in conversation about responsibility, trust, and what it truly means to be an adult in a community bound by both love and law. She learned that modern British life wasn't just about freedom, it was about accountability. Especially when your actions touch others' lives. 2 weeks later, the fence stood rebuilt, stronger, straighter, painted in a soft sage green that matched 2025's earthy exterior palette. Mrs. Peabody, touched by Isabel's handwritten note and her willingness to help, gifted her potted lavender plant. "You've got good bones, dear," she'd said with a wink. On a quiet Sunday evening, Isabel set the dining table for roast chicken, Yorkshire puddings, and honey-glazed carrots. She wore an oversized knit and tailored trousers, effortless, elegant, and utterly 2025. As her parents praised her growth, she smiled, not with pride, but with peace. The fence was more than wood and nails. It was a reminder that boundaries, like trust, must be respected, repaired when broken, and never taken for granted. And in that warm, layered home in Surrey, respect had been restored, one honest act at a time.